This is the Samsung Galaxy A12. With a massive 6.5-inch display and equally massive 5000 mAh battery, this phone promises to be a multimedia powerhouse. But how does it stack up against its competitors? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. Hello everybody, my name is Robert and this is really. But of course, before we get into today's review, I just want to ask, if this is the first time that you're seeing my face on your screen, then one, lucky you, and two, go down there, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell notification icon so you get notified every time I upload. I've got a load of really cool content coming up and I would hate for you to miss out on any of it. But without further ado, let's get into this review of the Samsung Galaxy A12. Let's go. Let's start off by talking display, because that's perhaps the biggest selling point of this phone. Literally. This thing has a 6.5-inch display. This makes it almost unpocketable for many people, and almost tablet-like in size. This screen is an LCD panel, which means that the viewing angles are truly atrocious. So if you're not viewing this thing from directly on, you're not going to have the best viewing experience for games or multimedia. To go along with these awful viewing angles, we also only have a resolution of 720p. Yes, that's right, we still have 720p displays. In my mind, this just isn't acceptable anymore, especially for this price point. Completing the tour of the device, along the bottom we have that USB-C charging port, one bottom-firing speaker, and a 3.5mm jack, which is rare to see in this day and age, but is nice to see here. Along the right-hand side we have the power button, which also doubles as a fingerprint reader, and the volume rocker. Along the top, a single microphone, and along the left, we have that SIM slot and also a place for a micro SD card expansion as well. Moving along to the back of the phone, we see this nice and elegant design of the two-tone plastic here. Along the top, we have this grippy style plastic, and then on the bottom, we have a more matte finish. It's definitely something unique, and it's something that we don't really see, but gives it a nice little edge against other phones on the market. Of course, on the back as well, we have that 4-camera array, which we'll have a little bit of a chat about later. It doesn't protrude too far from the phone, but still enough that when you place this down on a desk and start typing on it, you will see a certain amount of wobble in the phone. The phone is powered by the MediaTek P35 processor. It's an octa-core processor, which means that there's nothing really spectacular about the performance here. But for this price range, I suppose it's still acceptable. This comes with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of internal storage, though that can obviously be expanded with a micro SD card. So with this in mind, it's perfectly capable of playing some of the less taxing mobile games. If you want to check out how this phone does on all of these styles of games, including PUBG Mobile, then you can watch our video up there or in the description down below. But spoiler alert, this phone is not very good at these games. Call of Duty seemed to run fine, but PUBG, it simply couldn't hold its own. We ran at a very low frame rate and almost became unusable after a while. To compare performance here, for just £40 more you could pick up something like the Poco X3, and that gives you a whopping 700 more score on Geekbench, with the multi-core tests here on the A12 reaching just 1022 points. Okay, so we know this thing can't game, but what about watching video? Surprisingly, it's pretty good at this. Despite that low resolution display and bad viewing angle, the video looks bright, colourful and even accurate in its colours. The only real downside here is that single bottom firing speaker, which is easy to cover with your hand and just doesn't sound that great at all, compared to other devices that use the dual speaker method, which gives you a much more full and rounded sound. Those 4 cameras on the back produce really nice images, under the right lighting conditions. Autofocus can be a little bit of a hit and miss here, and anything bar that main 48 megapixel camera produces some really underexposed images, and there's notable sharpness decrease along the outside of the photos. Image processing here though is something that Samsung has always done really well. So even if you're using that 12 megapixel wide angle, or if you're using those 2 megapixel macro and depth cameras, you're still going to get some pretty good images just from the processing that's going on in the background here. So I think the images that you get from this phone are pretty comparable for the price range. And that front-facing 8 megapixel camera is also fine, though that sharpness decrease along the edge of the images is still present here. As usual on Samsung devices, this comes packed with the One UI software, which is a heavily customized Android 10 skin. When it comes to the UI, it's really up to you what you like. Personally, I find it rather inoffensive. I've personally always preferred stock Android just because of the amount of bloatware that Samsung has installed here. But it was snappy, and the customization options in terms of themes are really nice to see, and something that is very rare to see on many Android skins. There is no DeX support here, but that's not really something that I would miss. What is nice to see is the Knox hardware and software encryption is still in place, and that's something that Samsung prides itself on. Security at the core. So let's talk connectivity. This has 2G, 3G, 4G connectivity, but no 5G, so this really is not future-proofed as a phone. But in terms of the bands, it can work pretty much anywhere in the world, so it's great for travelling. In terms of Bluetooth, we get Bluetooth 5, so we can connect up multiple Bluetooth devices and have that low energy mode as well. What I am really disappointed to see is Wi-Fi on some models only goes up to 2.4 GHz rather than the full 2.4 and 5 GHz. Thankfully, the European model that I have here has 2.4 and 5 GHz, but it's something to keep in mind that if you buy this device elsewhere, you may not get that 5G Wi-Fi support. We also get dual SIM and NFC, so all of the connectivity you would need for a device that's pretty well priced. Audio quality is exactly what you would expect during phone calls. The microphone is pretty good at blocking out any background noise, but picks up the other listener really well and is quite clear. Of course, battery life is insane here. With that 5000 mAh battery, this means that I can get through almost 2 days of full work with some quite heavy use of the phone and still have a little bit of battery left. But unfortunately, charging is not the quickest thing here. Charging takes around 2 hours from that 0% to 100% mark, and though that's not slow, it's certainly not quick. So, in conclusion, what do I think of this device? Well, I find it hard to recommend. Just because for £40 more you can get something from the likes of Poco, Redmi or Xiaomi that will be conceivably better in all areas compared to the Samsung here. But of course, many people still don't believe the Chinese name brands like Xiaomi. They don't think that you'll get the same kind of quality or performance. So if you're looking for a name brand, the Samsung Galaxy A12 is a pretty good place to start. But if you're willing to spend a little more and take a few more risks, then there are much better options out there, including the Poco X3, which you can see a review on up there or in the description down below. But of course, guys, what do you think of this device? Let me know in the comments section down below, and of course, I will catch you in the next one. Adios.